Hi, it's Miss P, and today we are going to talk about our changing bodies. If that's something that interests you, stay tuned. I have been sewing since the beginning of the year. Now, with a little qualifier, I started way back when, sewing very simple items just for myself and my son. And then as I got older, I stopped sewing. Life got busy, clothes got cheap, and I now have started sewing again. And I'm doing something I've never done, which is using patterns and all of that stuff. When I sewed previously, I sewed for a larger body, and everything I made was very modest. So everything was kind of boxy. It was long, full skirts. It was, you know, I didn't really have to worry about how my body looked in it because it was just going to be a big box over a big box, you know. And now that I am older and sewing again and using patterns, and I love bodycon, and I don't mind my boobs showing a little bit. I don't mind showing a little cleavage or shoulder or, a little bit of leg, just a little bit, not a lot, just to the knee. That's enough for me. But now that I'm doing that, fit has become much more important. And along with that, I have been losing weight, and I am not on some great weight loss journey. I've just had some health issues that have caused me to start being intolerant of certain foods that once I found delicious. I'm not unhappy about it. There are some health benefits to it. My palate is not happy, but my body as a whole is in less pain, and I am able to cope with the day physically a little bit better. As adults, once we reach full adulthood, which around 25. For some people, that's a little later. Late adulthood can be as late as 30. Our bodies start to change. And even if our weight doesn't change, the shape of our body changes approximately every 5 years if there's no extra factors like weight gain or illness or something that would make your weight adjust. If there's nothing else and you pretty much stay the same and your diet stays the same, then you can pretty much count on your, weight staying the same, depending on your activity level, all the factors. So then our body's shape changes about every 5 years. So what that might look like is sometimes your breasts get a little smaller and your butt gets a little bigger, or your fupa gets a little bigger, or maybe your face, some people might notice their face shape changing. Just our bodies are constantly changing, but as we get older they change a little slower, and they do different things. And sometimes even working out, even diet, um none of that will really help us determine what's going to happen to our bodies, because it's going to do its own thing. So when you're thinking about that during sewing, what happens is that now those pants that fit great or looked great no longer look as good, because now there's more room being taken up in the back, or your stomach is a little more pronounced, or that little sundress that you didn't need a bra for, well, now maybe it's not looking as great as it did. Those things just happen. And how do we sew for those changes? And the other thing is we gain and lose weight. It's a natural part of humanity. Our bodies are designed to put on extra weight in certain months. Just through years of austerity, we've just kind of pick up how much we can eat. We lose weight during certain parts of the year. Many of us, just kind of fluctuate. When it's more drastic, like in my case, where I've lost for me, what feels like quite a bit of weight in a short amount of time, given there's been no effort behind it. When it's more drastic like that, it can be very detrimental to your wardrobe. So here are some of the things that I have found that are helpful for managing that in my case. And maybe these tips will help you too. The first thing that I'm going to suggest is the obvious, elastic. Elastic is your friend when you are fluctuating in weight. I'm going to say, first of all, you can do this very simple thing like elastic band waist. This is especially helpful if you are going up in weight, because as you're going up, that elastic is just going to stretch with you. I would suggest along with that that you kind of find different shaped pants. So, maybe skinny jeans aren't for you. Maybe slim cut isn't for you. Maybe there's a different shape. Maybe straight legs, maybe wider legs are going to be more accommodating for your body as it changes. So maybe you would want to think about using those things along with an elastic waist. Now, I don't find elastic waist to be super appealing. A lot of what I wear, I like the front to be smooth, and I don't mind if the back is elastic. Some people don't want any elastic. Some people still tuck their shirts. I don't tuck shirts, but some people tuck their shirts. They want it to look nice and smooth in the back, and they don't want this elastic band. They don't want this elastic band. So one of the things you can do is you can just put the elastic, if you don't want it in the back and you definitely don't want it in the front, you can put it just in the sides. What that does is it's mostly obscured by your arms. It's not as visually jarring. It still gives you that smooth look from the front and the back, and it also gives you that adjustability. Another thing that I have seen is when someone has, I don't know what company it is, but I've seen in toddler and adult clothes, this little elastic band on the side with a button. And the elastic is kind of like maybe about 6 inches long, and it has little buttonholes in it, so that you can pull that just a little bit. You can give yourself that 5 or 6 inch differential for comfort to just kind of pull it in. And so if you're losing weight, that's a wonderful option to try and like manage. You buy it in the size where it's the most extended, and as you go in, you can just kind of pull that little piece of elastic on the side and button it up, and that kind of gives you that cinch as you lose weight, so that you don't have to go right out and make some new pants. You can just wear the pants you have. It extends their life. Another thing with elastic is shearing. A lot of items, when you're using elastic to gather it in, it leaves it kind of voluminous on the areas that you're cinching. So another thing you can do, especially with tops and dresses, is try shearing. I am not good at this as of yet, but I do plan to try it this summer, where you just kind of pick an area of your clothing and use that thin elastic through your machine to shear on to your garment. And what this will do is give you kind of the same effect as a knit in a woven. Now, it won't be stretchy all over, but that area, like if it's your waist, it'll obscure that and it'll grow with your body. So if you pick that kind of design, then you have that many inches to grow into the garment that you're making. And I think that that's a good way to utilize elastic to keep your garments a little bit longer, have them looking nice. So another place you can use elastic is in the shoulders. Depending on the time of year or your style preference, having something that's off the shoulder, I tend to just take my bra and slip it off. And I like that look. Just slipping it off just ever so slightly. If I slip it off too much, it gaps on the side. But if I just do it a little bit, then I get this nice shoulder, a little bit of shoulder. So using elastic in your garments for an off the shoulder look, I suggest the silicone backed elastic. That way it kind of sticks where you put it. So using that in the shoulders, it allows you to have that silhouette. And then you can have a blousier, more open garment on the bottom, and that gives you room to either grow or shrink without it being so notable. If you are shrinking and you have that going on, then you can just belt it. And if you are growing and you have that going on, you can just leave it out, or you can put a tie and use the tie in the back. So yeah, so that's it with elastic. I mean, there's a lot of patterns. You can just look for patterns that include that. You can look for patterns that include a draw waist. That way you can have that adjustable Or you can include your own. You can hack your own little drawstring waist. So when I think of these things, I'm going to insert the picture. I got them more for my benefit than yours because I'm going to just insert the picture here. But Vogue 1777, um, just, it's going to be backwards, but just ignore it. If you look at the dress and how it lines up, trying not to let it hit the light. If you look at the dress, I would insert a string like right in here, a little drawstring that maybe came over to this point, and just pulled it a little bit. That's an option for something like this, that you can just put that string in, or that elastic, add a little elastic. If you know that you're shrinking or gaining weight, that's one good way to do it. So that's it on elastic. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with elastic. There's a lot of different ways that you can apply it to cinch your garments that can still look good. I mean, it might take a little more research, but depending on your sewing level, I'm sure you can achieve it. So next we're going to talk about sewing in layers. Sewing in layers is not necessarily a fix, but it can be helpful. Simplicity 12176. This is a vintage pattern, and I will put it up here. Yeah, it's a vintage pattern, and as you can see, it has kind of, I'm looking down, it has kind of these open arms and kind of a tie waist. That is going to serve you while your body is changing. The way this thing fits, if it's your style, I mean, I personally would elongate it so that it came over the hips. That way I can continue to wear whatever pants I'm wearing. And if the pants aren't as flattering as I would like, I have this very open kind of jacket. I feel like it's good for many different seasons, depending on what you make it in. You can make it in a fleece or a wool, or you can, for the winter, with plaids, etc. In the summertime or the springtime, you can use it with anything you want, a lace. I mean, I just think it's a very nice way to cover. This is going to fit you through at least 6 or 7 sizes, I think, because of the way the arms are open and the way it cinches at the waist. You're going to have a longer wear on this kind of a garment. These layers allow you to not hide, but lead the eye into the shape that you want people to perceive. So if you're dressing in layers, whether or not you're losing or gaining weight, those layers tell people where their eye should go. So you can make your shape. Like when I say this the simplicity 12176, when I talk about that 12176, you see these women are very straight. The drawings of the women are very straight, but that shape is very hourglassy because of the shape of the jacket. You can do that with your clothes. That's what makes sewing beautiful, is that you can make them fit you. Now we're going to talk about seam allowance and hems. Often back in the day, way back in historic times, they used to make adjustments for your clothes. It was so uncommon for us to just, put on a thing and then that's it. So, you wouldn't just buy your size. But now we can revisit some of those time-honored traditions in clothing making so that we're not having such disposable clothing. So what are some of the things we can do for that? Let's talk about increasing your seam allowance. When I was using the Amazing Fit patterns, which I talk about all the time, they give a 1-inch seam allowance, which I found super excessive. And yeah, a lot of times I cut it off. But at the same time, if I were moving up in weight, and in one of the dresses I did actually keep it, but if you're moving up in weight, keeping that seam allowance and just folding it in to the dress as opposed to cutting it off can really help you if you're going up in weight. If you're increasing in size, you can leave that seam allowance in, flatten it out, and then you can just go on. And if you gain a certain amount of weight and it's a fabric you love, and you took your time and you enjoyed making it, then you can let that seam allowance out, and then you still have your dress. I just did this with a store purchased dress. They actually gave a little bit of a seam allowance in the arms, and I wouldn't wear the dress because it was so tight. And I looked at it really good before I was going to donate it, and I saw that they had like maybe a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I just picked that out, and now the dress is perfect. I just ironed it and picked out that extra seam allowance, and it fits very well now. And you can do the same, give yourself that same grace in the clothing that you make for yourself, so that when you change sizes, you can pick out that seam allowance, you can drop that hem. It's just, I think, a good practice, in general. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is revisiting old makes. Sometimes, like I may have mentioned, I make something and it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. It's too small. I've had some cases when it was too big, but mostly it's just kind of too small. It's been my case. Because of the issues that I've been having with weight loss, I have found that some of those items now do fit. And some of the items that I made that fit but I didn't like, I now don't mind so much. They don't pull in the same ways. They're a little baggier, and sometimes not something I would have thought of, but sometimes that baggier look is more flattering than something that's form-fitting and looks like it's made for your body. Sometimes made for your body also means baggy. They do make, I'm saying it more for myself, but they do make baggy clothes for a reason. And they are comfortable and they have a place. And now I have some items that were going to probably be donated that I might keep a little bit longer and actually wear. So you might want to revisit some of the things that you've made in the past and see, maybe they were too big, maybe they can be let out, maybe they just look different on your ever-changing body, and now they're perfect for you. So I would strongly suggest just kind of trying to look through that made UFO bin and trying to adapt some of that to your present wardrobe so that you can get the most out of the time you've spent and the fabric you've used, and maybe love it all over again. Now I want to talk about something I know absolutely nothing about: convertible clothing, but I intend to look into it. Now, I've watched a video from a channel called The Stitchery, and she got viral because she talked about split side skirts, which I knew were a thing because I may have mentioned in a previous video, I love steampunk, and back in the day you had side split clothing. It was common. So she makes several side split skirts just for the fact that as you change, you might want, sorry, I have something in my eye. As your body changes, you might want to be able to adjust it. You might just have a bad day, but be having a bad week. It might be that time where you just need a little more space. And she makes these convertible, she gives you the formula to make convertible split side skirts, which have either a tie or a corset or buttons in the back, and then like a tie around your waist. I intend to look more into how I can adopt that into my own wardrobe, because I am really, most of my skirts are kind of elasticy, but I just had a incident with a skirt where I tried to make it elastic in the waist because I didn't want a zipper, because zippers, once you put a zipper in, that's it. There's really not much conversion. You can take in the darts, you can try and take it in, but for certain items, zippers kind of are the end of the road, and every other alteration that you make after that looks a little clunky to me. So I'm looking into how I can make the same skirt with a little button on the side instead of a zipper. And then that way I can move the button, or I can change the way it closes, just something that's not a zipper. So yeah, I'm going to look into her videos to see whether or not, and I suggest you do too. I'm going to leave the link down below. Yeah, so There are other forms of convertible clothing. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it because, like I said, I don't really know anything about how to do it and I haven't put it into practice, but it seems super fascinating to me. So I saved the most obvious for last. If your body is changing, knits are your friend. I know not everybody likes a knit. Knits can be a little, they can be difficult to work with for some people. Actually prefer them. I find them a lot easier to work with because I feel like I have a bigger percentage of a chance that the clothing item that I end up with is going to work for my body. And I don't always feel that secure when I'm working with wovens. But yeah, if you using knits, they stretch with your body, they're made to move with your body. If you gain a little bit of weight or if you're a little bigger, they're not going to be tight or restrictive unless you've made them super tight and restrictive to begin with. And you really have to work hard at that. And sometimes that'll change the look. So we tend not to. So when you're making a garment that is made of a knit fabric, you're giving yourself the room to grow into or shrink out of this outfit. Knits tend to want to hold their shape. They're easier to tailor because small imperfections don't show as well. I tend to use stable knits in the place of wovens when I have certain patterns that require a woven fabric. So it might say woven, but then I might use a two-way stretch with minimal stretch and use that instead. And what that usually has yielded me, I have never been disappointed with that approach. It always gives me like a little more room. If I'm off a half an inch, it's not going to pull my buttons. It's not going to, hang poorly. I'm just off a half an inch and the knit does the rest. Sometimes it even makes it a more favorable fit. Yeah, but if I use a knit in that pattern, it's even more likely that it's going to be complementary to my body. So I really suggest that using knit fabrics, using them creatively, taking the time to find the ones that, if you're a woven person or you prefer wovens and you like the structured look, there are so many knits and there are stretch wovens where they have a little bit of give to them. I suggest looking into those if your body's changing or if that's something you want to be prepared for, because it can make such a big difference in the longevity of your item. You're building into the garment that amount of leniency for your body to change. I think it'll help you in the long term appreciate your garment, appreciate the time you spent with it, and to feel better about yourself as you're changing. Be kind to yourself. This is not, don't think of, be friends with your body. It's made to change. It's changing to accommodate you, even if it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, there's going to be illness. Yes, there's going to be pain as we get older sometimes. There's going to be just changes, things that just look different that we don't like. But be kind to yourself as you're going through these changes. It doesn't help you to chastise yourself. It doesn't help you to be hard on yourself. It just adds to the stress, and it affects the way that you love yourself. And I know that sounds hokey, and a lot of people say love yourself more, and I do believe in that, but I think it's a lot deeper than just, a thing you say, oh yeah, I love myself. No, you really love this thing that is breathing for you, this thing that is walking for you. And don't compare it to anybody else's, because I promise you there's very few people who you can talk to over the age of 30 who are going to be super happy with everything with their body. In fact, I've never met a person who's just like, nope, I'm perfect. Everybody has a thing that doesn't make them feel good. And if you can say about that thing about yourself, say that I love you anyway. Not anyway, I love you because of it. If you can say I love you because of your differences. And I love you because of how hard you work to keep me going. I know it sounds a little corny, but you'll feel the difference in yourself after a while of internalizing the gratitude for what your body does. And I say that as a person who has struggled with this body. I now appreciate so much more the things that it can do for me and the benefits that I've gained from having it. I even appreciate it. And I always, despite popular opinion in society, I've always thought I was beautiful. And yeah, so yeah, I hope you feel that way about yourself too. And if not, I hope you're working towards that. Anyway, moving forward, the last thing I want to talk about, yeah, I'm looking at my phone so that I can remember. Okay, so yeah, the last thing I want to say is remember this is your hobby. If something doesn't fit, if you are too small or too big for something, remember this is your hobby. This is what I do. I can make a new garment. I can make something that fits me now. I can change. I can grow, and I can make it wonderful. Yeah, I just think that since this is our hobby, this is the thing that we like, we can always make new stuff and update our wardrobe. We can reuse or get rid of things that are no longer serving us, or we can remake them. We have a level of control that a lot of people have lost. I mean, it feels like a great big sewing community when I'm on YouTube, but in the world, not that many people sew. Like, people are almost surprised. Like, you made that? Yes, I made that. People, that's how clothing used to be made. We would sit at home and make our clothes. So yeah, now I do that. And you do it too. If you're here, or you just like me, either way, thanks. But we are sewists. We can make things to fit us. So if your body is changing, remember, this is my hobby. This is what I do. Go out, make something new. Find the fabric that inspires you. Find something that makes you happy. And yeah, sew and bring yourself joy. If you have enjoyed this video, I hope you will click that like button down there. And if you haven't, I hope you'll leave me a comment and let me know what's missing. And as always, please like and subscribe if you would like to like and subscribe. It's been a pleasure today. I've really been wanting to talk about this. So thank you for sharing this with me, and I'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.